Good evening. Good evening and welcome to this amazing place on this amazing day. Doesn't really work. Well, we needed the rain. So, I'm Michael, father of the bride. And it is my very great pleasure to welcome you here and thank you all for being here and helping us celebrate the marriage of Chris and Rachel. So, let me start by formally welcoming Chris's family into our family. Karen and Guy, it is so abundantly clear what a great job you've done raising Chris and his brothers. I don't know what I got on. They're a credit to you. And we'll both look forward to getting round the rest of the clan this evening and in times to come. I'd also like to welcome relatives and friends of both families, and in particular all these people who've had long journeys to get here. And some special thanks. Journeys are not always about distance travelled, and those of you who know Yvonne, Rachel's mum, will understand the difficult journey she's had for most of this year. And it is, it's only a couple of weeks since she had some major surgery, so it is a tremendous to see her here. Looking so lovely. Looking so lovely, and always ready to give good advice. I was talking to her just earlier today about this speech. What should I say? And she said, well, don't try to be too witty or too clever or too intellectual. Just be yourself. That's what a wife's for. So thank you for obviously being here, all your tireless work on this event behind the scenes, and for helping us raise such a wonderful daughter. Special thanks to Chris for taking her off our hands. So that's a cheap shot. That might be a few more of those. So, what can I say about our firstborn? So, I think throughout her life she's never shied away from challenges. So the only girl on the rugby team, the under-12s, yes. Taking on the International Baccalaureate at Hockrell. Big shout for Hockrell. What else? Night patrols in the Central American jungles, saving the turtles. Canyon swings. Probably most importantly, striking out from home and setting up your own homes and friendship groups, new ones in Brighton and later in Bangkok. So it's an approach to life, I think, that will help in your in the challenges of marriage. And if she and Chris are blessed with children, with the challenges of parenthood. So I've completely forgot what I was going to say next. Rachel said, don't bring a piece of paper, because it might rustle. So bear with me. I'm not taking it from in theory. This is risky, isn't it? Bloody phones. Okay. Where did I get to? Was I giving you a compliment? Okay. I wasn't rustling. Okay. What's that, John?
Have the shares gone up?
Sadly not. Okay. Oh yeah, this is a good bit. I'm glad I didn't miss this. Okay, so in recent years, Rachel's been into some more sort of exotic aerial sports like aerial hoop and flying trapeze. I think trapeze, particularly, that is a perfect metaphor for marriage. I mean, the leap of faith, trusting your partner to be there for you. Not the swinging. Didn't mean the swinging. That's different. Rachel, I've watched you change from Rachel Rabbit, Disney obsessed, Pokemon card carrying Harry Potter fan, into a feisty, creative, talented, independent, strong-willed, globe-trotting, podcasting, beautiful, young, Disney-obsessed, Pokemon card, Harry Potter fan. Actually, I'm very proud of the woman that you've become. So, Rachel Rabbit, I think you look $1 million today. Chris, you look after her. That's your responsibility now. We're really thrilled to have you as our son-in-law. You're a brave man. Because I have news for you, she's not actually perfect. Little idiosyncrasies. Well, you've been together quite a while, so you know what you're taking on. I don't need to go through them. But I will. So, let me see. Rachel won't notice large objects at short range, radio telescopes, the London Eye, that kind of thing. Rachel will slam the occasional door, but we all lose our temper from time to time. Rachel will glide across a classroom or a dance floor with the unbearable lightness of being an elephant. I'm just messing around. The important thing is to recognise each other's shortcomings, obviously, and to be gentle with each other's feelings, and to become experts in compromise. And that way you'll be able to face the ups and downs of life, I am sure. Okay, so celebrate the past, all the things you've learned, the good times you had in Thailand. Enjoy the present. Let's have a good party today. Yeah, and look forward to the future, obviously, and your next adventure in the Middle East, which starts tomorrow. Okay. If I could ask everyone to charge their glasses. I have a toast. Thank you, Karen. She's never given me a glass before. To absent friends. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I will now hand you over, put you in the very capable hands of your groom, Mr. Chris Pickett.
So, first of all, I just want to thank Michael for those really kind words and for a fantastic speech. Thank you very much. Now, as my job as the groom, I've got a long list of thank yous to go through, so please bear with me and please make sure that all of your glasses are fully charged because they might be finished by the end of this. First of all, on behalf of my wife, there's some people that I want to thank today. Now, honestly, to see so many of you here today really means a lot to me. There are some of you that have had to make some really long journeys, and honestly, at times, there's just so many of you, I wasn't sure whether they'd all fit into this marquee, just sheer numbers. And I'm just talking about the bridesmaids at this point. So thank you, bridesmaids. Seriously, Emma, Emily, Hannah, Amy and Sophie, you ladies all look fantastic today. And I just want to thank you for putting in so much work and effort for making Rachel's hen night the night that it was. I know she absolutely loved it, and it means a lot to me too. Thank you for being just generally great friends to Rachel, being so supportive and so caring to her as well. I know Rachel absolutely adores you, and it means so much to me that she's got such a great supportive friend network, so thank you so much. I know, though, that amongst some of Rachel's friends, I've gained a little bit of a reputation as an elusive character. At points, some people even questioned whether I really even exist. Well, here I am. I'm real. Stand before you. But I just want to say that's not a reputation I want to keep, ladies. And I'm looking forward to getting to. I'm looking forward to becoming better friends. Emma, I want to thank you as well. Your singing was absolutely beautiful today. I wasn't expecting quite the emotional sledgehammer that it gave me today. It was fantastic, and I'll really treasure it going after today. Thank you. Now, there's a few of us in the room who aren't bridesmaids. Can you just put your hands up so I can see where you are? There's a few of you here, thank you. And I'm led to believe amongst those people, some of you aren't even teachers, so thank you to those people as well. I know there's lots of people that have had to take time off of work or make significant journeys here, and it really does mean a lot to us. An extra shout out in that regard has to go to Emily Capon, who has travelled literally around the world from Australia to be able to Emily, thank you. Top prizes to you for longest journey and largest carbon footprint. So the priority for me and Rachel today was just to make sure that we got everyone we love in a room together to celebrate and to enjoy the friends and family that we have. And we count ourselves very lucky to have so many incredible cousins, uncles, grandparents, aunties and friends. We really do. And to see all of you in the room together just means the world to us. Without you, we just wouldn't be the people that we are today. There's some people, though, that without them, I quite literally wouldn't be here today. I'm talking about 12 years ago, after a night of entirely responsible drinking at Oceana nightclub in Southampton. At the last minute, I found myself stuck in a bush, unable to read my surroundings, and a task force was thrown together of Yvonne, Rachel's mum, my mum Karen, my aunt Michelle, and Sophie Deering, who I very luckily happened to bump into that night. Without her, it really would have been a lost cause. So I just want to thank you all specifically for rescuing me that night, because I could quite easily still be in Southampton, living off of berries and totally detached from society. So thank you. Now today is a wedding, but it's also kind of morphed into a bit of a leaving do as well, with me and Rachel moving tomorrow to start our new adventure teaching in the Middle East. Now it goes without saying, if any of you are travelling in the area, there's an open invitation to come and see us if you happen to be in Dublu. Oh, sorry. There's an open invitation if you happen to come and see us in Dublu. Sorry, I've never been very good at Dubai's. Now then, there are some people I'd like to thank from myself and my ex-girlfriend, now wife, for the people who've made today the occasion that it is. First of all, I just want to thank Angie and all the staff here at that amazing place for putting on a really amazing day today. Thank you so much. I want to thank Lynn for the flower arrangements today. They look absolutely spectacular. Thank you so much, Lynn. I want to thank Sarah and all the catering staff today for a really fantastic meal today. I know we've all enjoyed it, and she's taught me two things today. One, what a Carrasco is, and two, that it's absolutely delicious. So thank you, Sarah. And finally, I've got some thanks for Abo and Sean, our photographer and our videographer today, who are capturing our memories from the day. We can't wait to see how they turn out, so thank you both. Now then, my new in-laws, Michael and Yvonne. Thank you for welcoming me into the family and for the warmth you've given to me and Rachel today. Michael and Yvonne, thank you for blessing this marriage for your incredible daughter. You make me the happiest man in the world. Now, Michael and Yvonne have known me now for almost 15 years, a bit over 15 years now. So just like my forehead, we go way back. When I used to live in Bishop Stortford, I used to go around to watch the latest episode of The Apprentice at Michael and Yvonne's every week. And it was a routine that I really enjoyed. However, it did build some nerves for me asking for Michael's blessing, because I knew for a fact that he'd been building up week on week of a colourful catalogue to tell me I'd blown the opportunity of a lifetime partnership with his daughter, so I was worried. Thankfully, there was nothing to be worried about, and he never looked me in the eye and said that I'd been fired. So Yvonne, I have to give an extra special thanks to you today. You've given so much of your time, energy, and in my case, it must be said, patience, to make sure that today is the day that it is. Simply put, we couldn't have done today without you, and we can't thank you enough. I learned quite quickly when I first met Yvonne that she shares quite a lot of traits with Rachel. First of all, she's very caring to those around her. She's very compassionate. Excuse me. Secondly, she rightly prides herself as a fantastic host. And thirdly, she can become quite single-tracked mind when she knows that there's a goal she wants to achieve. Sometimes to the point of rebelliousness. There was one occasion when Yvonne was talking to me and Rachel when she was collecting Rachel at the end of the school day, and I was in sixth form and I was boarding at Hockrell. I was dealing with a bit of homesickness. I was feeling a bit homesick, and straight away, Yvonne's mothering instincts took pity on me. I was the sad sight of a 16-year-old boy in a Ramones t-shirt, which you could only name 3 of their songs. Straight away, she whipped us back home in the car, cooked up a delicious Hunter signature spaghetti bolognese, and we had an amazing evening of laughter and fun together. Once the evening was over, she whipped us back to the school and dropped me off at the boarding house, under the noses of the boarding staff. Now, Yvonne hadn't taken any authorization to do that, and normally, a day release for a boarding house pupil at Hockrell requires a significant amount of paperwork and red tape, let me tell you. So thank you, Yvonne. It's a memory that I really treasure, and I always smile when I think about it. And what it shows me is just your real compassionate nature and the way that you make time for others. So thank you, Yvonne. I have to say, her bolognese still breaks my vegetarianism without fail. Please can we stand and raise a glass in toast to my wonderful in-laws. My parents, Mum and Dad, Karen and Guy, to most of you. Now, Mum and Dad, I just have to thank you first of all for everything you've done for me over the years. The warmth and acceptance you've shown from day one to Rachel really means a lot to me, so thank you very much. Mum, you've always made time for us despite being one of the hardest working people that I know, and it just means the world. You've always been an inspiration to me, but now as I follow your footsteps into teaching, you're even more so, and you've become a mentor as well as a role model. There have been times though, during your career that you've had to deal with some quite difficult comments as a teacher. Some people have made some quite personal comments, like freak, or someone who can't operate in the real world. And yet, when Rachel made those comments, on the first night she met you, you showed nothing but absolute kindness. So thank Thank you, Mum. Today would be very different without Rachel. Dad, you always help me to keep things in perspective and to see the funny side. I have you to thank for my sense of humour, my calmness and my stoic attitude. Having said this, Rachel's quite a guarded character and doesn't often show her emotions, so I've not had to use those skills yet, but I'm sure they're coming in this room. Dad is always on hand if I need advice and has taught me many of the facts of life. For example, number 1, never put your bare ass on a hot radiator. Number 2, if you're walking to a bus stop, always walk backwards. And number 3, the quality of a song's lyrics improve exponentially the more you turn up the volume on the stereo. Thank you, Dad. There have been some times, though, when I've chosen not to listen to my dad's advice. There was a time when I was about 7, and Dad sat me down to talk to me about the secret to leading a happy life. Now, he didn't have all of the answers, admittedly, but what he did know for sure was that having a happy life definitely does not involve supporting Norwich City FC. I thought I knew better, Dad, and I stand here as a 31-year-old man admitting I was wrong. We tried. Please can we all stand and raise a glass to my parents. Karen and Guy, Mum and Dad. Right, so at this point I would just like to really reiterate Michael's kind words for those of us who can't be here. I know they're all dearly missed and they mean a lot to us and we all know who those people are. However, there are some people today who frankly just organising themselves to be with us today is a significant win. And I have to say, these are mostly from my side of the family. I'm talking about people, say, who might only realise their passport's invalid a week before their holiday, despite constant reminders from their mum, Sam. I'm talking about someone who might, say, believe the quickest route between Coventry and Southampton goes through Bristol, Alex. I'm talking about someone who might firmly believe that they can take a cantaloupe melon to the chest without even flinching, Jake. Or someone who, say, is as daft as doing something like organising their wedding a day before they move to a different continent. So, in jest, for those daft people among us, can we just raise a glass quickly to absent-minded friends? Moving on now, speaking on that subject, James and Sam, my groomsmen today. Thank you for stepping up in the role. I know I didn't make it entirely obvious. Sam, I have to thank you first of all for all of the work you've done on the design stuff today, on the poems, the invitations, the signs outside. They all look fantastic. Thank you so much. We can't thank you enough. James, thanks for getting our names right when you announced us earlier. I can see Roxanne's having a good influence on you. Having you two as brothers is such a gift. I consider myself very lucky and very proud. Jake and Alex, I could extend the same to you both. Together we've created a unique universe of in-jokes and pop culture references, and I can only begin to imagine what it sounds like to anyone outside of our circle. You boys make me feel like it's Band of Skulls, headlining tea in the park, and I'm stood with a pot of joy in hand that's as cold as a bag of frozen peas. Nice. Katie, you can try and deny it, but you're one of us too. As Darth Vader said, Mum, you remember this? Search your feelings, you know it to be true. Ash, my best man today. Thank you for an unforgettable, dare I even say, Div 4 stag weekend. I know myself and all of the boys an absolute blast. The way you hired all of those eccentric weirdos, the way you hired all of those actors to play the role of eccentric weirdo was truly inspired. Thanks for being an awesome mate through the years, and it fills me with such happiness seeing you together with Simo. Thank you. Now, Ash and I have had many adventures over the years through many different countries. We've been to America, Morocco, Thailand, and many places in Europe. And yet, despite that, I've never once exceeded my limits or made a fool of myself. So I can only imagine Ash struggled for material today. I'm sorry, Ash. Max and Joe, I can't miss you boys out too. Thanks for being fantastic mates. Going to Madrid and doing the Madrid Marathon is something that I really treasure. And Max is the definition of loyalty. He's a man who vocally despises running and yet willingly sacrificed ever using his knees again just for my half-baked idea to run 26 miles in the Spanish sunshine. So thank you, Max. Not to leave Joe out, Joe's always there for me too, in my mind, in Las Vegas, at the departure lounge, on the floor, totally hungover. And I know however bad I might be feeling at that moment in time, I will never be feeling quite as bad as Joe was feeling in that moment. So thank you for that gift, Joe. I'm not sure if over the years us three have had more laughs or more Five Guys burgers, but I know that either way it's an astronomically high amount. But I'm pretty sure that any calories we may have consumed are cancelled out by wiping away tears and holding our sides from laughing, so it's good. Now, finally, the most important person in the room today, Rachel. You look absolutely stunning. You're a best friend, a travel partner, and now my wife. Rachel has put so much time and effort into organising today to make sure that every minute is as perfect as possible, and I think it really shows. I think we can all agree with that today. Now, Rachel and I met at school, but our relationship really started when we were in science lessons together. You could say there were chemistry between us. One fateful day, I arrived late to a lesson and there was an empty stool next to where Rachel was sitting. I was thrilled because it gave me a chance to legitimately sit next to Rachel and ditch my mates and try flirting some more. As I sat down, Rachel fired Cupid's arrow straight into my heart with beautiful words of such poise and poetry that it could only lead to a lifetime of love and happiness. Now, spoiler alert, they have been mentioned already today. Those three words were nice chicken legs. Now, nobody, not even Rachel, knows what those words mean. But arrow landed straight in my heart. And 15 years later, we're still happy. And I suppose they're quite apt. Our relationship could be described as poultry in motion. I've shared many of my feelings in my vows today, Rachel, but I can't say it enough. Thank you for being you. You make me happier than I thought possible, and you put up with all my stupid jokes, and you make me feel like the luckiest guy in the room. Even if sometimes I do have to wait some time where you light a scented candle before I enter that room. Thank you for being patient when I get details wrong, and thank you for giving me a kick up the elbow when I need it. You are the kindest, most genuine person that I know, and I love you. Please can we raise a toast to my incredible bride today? Now, putting my teacher hat on, I have to say thank you all for sitting incredibly beautifully today. If I had gold stars, each and every one of you would be going home with one. There are some people in the room, though, when behaviour hasn't been as it should be. I have to speak to whoever's collecting them after we're finished. And Max, I don't think Rashid, the cab driver, is going to take very kindly to your choices today, so think about what you've done. In a moment, I'll hand you over to my best man, Ash, who will undoubtedly have nothing but nice things to say about me. But I'll leave here with some fine words of wisdom from one of my lads in my little year 3 class this year. When I started writing this speech, I put it to them for ideas of what I should include, what I should say to my new wife. Now, there was one little boy off the top of my head, let's just call him Timu Houlihan. When I began writing this speech, I asked this 7-year-old lad, what should I put in the speech? And he had these sage words of advice. Happy wife, happy life. Thank you very much.
Rach, it is paper, I promise it won't rustle. Good evening, everyone, and first and foremost, thank you again for joining us here today to celebrate Rachel and Chris's big day. So, where to start? Chris is handsome, charming, intelligent, witty, an international trendsetter, a brilliant dancer, and... sorry, Chris, what does that say? I joke, of course. All of those descriptions are true. Just wait for his first dance later. And I'd like to firstly thank Chris for asking me to be his best man. Chris, it's an absolute honour, and watching you tie the knot today has filled me with so much joy. Just look at you both. You both make each other so happy, and we are all lucky to be part of such a wonderful occasion. So thank you on behalf of the entire room for allowing us to share this most special of days with you. So for the first time tonight, please raise a glass to Rachel and Chris. Secondly, to Rachel and Chris's wonderful families, proud of the 2 lovely people you've raised. They're both utterly brilliant, and you're all a massive part of that. So, to the parents. I've been lucky enough to know Chris for a number of years now. Chris arrived at our secondary school in year 10, and we immediately clicked. It feels just like yesterday that we were joking around at school, and I can honestly say that Chris is one of the funniest people I know. We got on like a house on fire from the get-go, and I can happily say that our friendship will last a lifetime, even if he does get on flight after flight to try and get away from me. Chris's humorous side and general great personality is clearly not something that just I see. As I look out at all of you today, I can see his closest friends in the sea of faces from school. Chris is a keeper. You've got a good one, Rach. Chris has always got your back, even if that is by way of him being very selective about the information he shares with you. One such example involves a scuba diving trip in Thailand and my very intense fear of snakes. I just gracefully jumped / awkwardly tumbled into the sea and was ready for just my second scuba dive ever. I was a little apprehensive, to say the least. Little did I know, the part of the ocean I just jumped into was precisely where a sea snake was swimming, just meters below me. Chris said nothing. After finishing the dive, I overheard Chris and Rachel joking about how they'd never seen one before. I went over and assumed that they were harmless. No, that couldn't be further from the truth. They are, in fact, deadly poisonous. I can only assume Chris somehow had my best interests at heart. Either that, or he knew that a scuba dive obsessed Rachel would probably have pushed me in anyway if I'd ruined the experience for her. There is, however, one time where Chris very much did not have my back, and that is on the stag do I'd so lovingly organised for him. We were coming to the end of a fun-filled session of paintballing. Chris's family, who I am convinced were placed on this earth to wield paintball guns, such is the level of dominance they exerted over our team, had just won yet another game, when the organisers surprised us by deciding Chris and I would have a Mexican standoff. Chris had no paintballs remaining, so I did the gentlemanly thing and I gave him half of mine. Let me tell you, seconds later, Chris was no such gentleman. As we turned to face each other, I saw the look in Chris's eyes. He shot me multiple times in the knees, once in the shoulder, and once dangerously close to little Ash. The epitome of no mercy. Thinking about it, I'm almost regretting all the sweet things I've said about you so far. Chris has also been partial to a drink or few in the past, and aptly mentioned earlier in his own speech, actually, how he's never once exceeded his limits. He may well believe this, But I imagine it is because when he crosses the line between tipsy and less tipsy, that he simply cannot remember any of these embarrassing moments. Luckily, I can remember these. One moment sticks clear in the memory, probably because it is as recent as the stag do. We'd returned to the hotel after an evening of being on our best behaviour, and it was just myself, Chris, Joe and Max still outside. One of us spotted some e-scooters across the road, and this immediately piqued our drunken interest. We tried for what felt like hours, when in fact it was probably minutes, to get the scooters to work, to no avail. As we were walking back across the road, admitting defeat, I heard a voice from behind me shout, "These things are absolutely rubbish." The three of us turned to find Chris, one foot on the stationary scooter, the other foot furiously trying to propel himself forward, none the wiser that the brake was very much still on. The memories of him are of him hungover, as that's actually a state I've seen Chris in many a time. I can't imagine he remembers much about our flight back from Barcelona, for example. In his defence, neither can I, but looking back, it was definitely Chris that put us in this situation. At a crossroads at the end of the last night of our trip, we knew we could either continue partying or sensibly go home and get a few hours sleep for our 6 a.m. flight. Chris's pearls of wisdom for the situation? I don't even know where the hotel is, so that's out of the question. Needless to say, we carried on into the night. I also can't remember whose idea it was to demand our taxi driver at 4 a.m. played Tiesto's greatest house anthems. No, it was not Jeremy. For the entire drive to the airport. But Chris, I'm laying that one square at your feet too. Chris is also a man of many sides to his personality, many facets and many interests. This became abundantly clear to me during a birthday Zoom call a couple of years ago. Yes, remember those? When we were invited by Rachel to share a fond memory of Chris. Now, I'd like to think I know Chris pretty well, but what came next caught me completely by surprise. Chris's cousin Jake went one step further than a short story and proceeded to provide a 10-minute PowerPoint presentation including slides, detailing their extensive back catalogue of favourite memes. And this clearly didn't even touch the surface. It is, however, a clear example of how many sides of there are to Mr. Pickett, and it is clear to see why so many people are fond of him. One such person who is clearly very fond of Chris is Rachel. Rachel, you look absolutely wonderful. Who would have thought that all those years ago in our first ever Year 7 form group, that 20 years later I'd be waxing lyrical about the two of you in front of a room of your nearest and dearest. I'm so grateful to be lucky enough not to see not one but two friends get married today. Rachel, I also know how much work you've put into this wedding, and I have to take a moment to acknowledge your meticulous planning. To put this into context, during a pre-wedding video call with Rachel and Chris last week, Rachel had even gone so far as to the details of who were to be the first people to walk down the aisle after they'd said their I do's. So, Emma, it's safe to say we absolutely smashed it. And Rachel, I can only assume you envisaged some sort of mad Lion King style stampede. But everyone is here, everything is fine. So I was reliably informed that the best man speech should last roughly the same amount of time as the groom takes in bed. So apologies, I've massively overrun here, but I'll do my best to wrap it up.
God, I wish this was on paper, Rachel. This is the speech that nobody asked for, but here it is. First of all, I can't believe I'm finally here today celebrating the wedding of my beautiful best friend, Chris. When Rachel first asked me to give a speech at her wedding, when I first demanded Rachel let me do a speech at her wedding, I was super confident that I'd be able to just crack open my laptop and smash out 1,000 words that were witty and poignant and full of colourful and touching anecdotes, equal parts uproariously funny and beautifully emotional, with very little effort whatsoever. And I was completely right. No, lamentably, I know that Michael is a big fan of unnecessarily complex vocab, so I've sprinkled some verbal gems in for you. Lamentably, it didn't happen like that at all. I'd open up the Notes app in my phone whilst on my way to work or in the queue at Sainsbury's, hoping inspiration would strike, and I'd somehow know how to condense 20 years of the most fierce friendship into one impossibly well-crafted speech. But I couldn't. Spoiler alert, I still haven't. Because in all seriousness, I'm not sure it's possible. Rach, the truth is that ever since you blasted into my life, in that fateful art lesson all those years ago, your indomitable life force has been charging me up and keeping me going, as it does for so many people, not least all the people in this room today. It's telling that the one thing we hear repeatedly from people who've listened to our podcast, I don't know if you know, Rachel and I have a podcast, like and subscribe. The one thing people consistently say is that what they like about listening to us is that they can hear in our voices and the way we interact how deeply we know each other and how much affection we have for each other. There's one particular memory that I have of our time travelling together that I think tells you everything you need to know about our friendship. Do you know? We were 18 years old in Chile, South America, and we were about to head out to a chic beachfront nightclub in La Serena with two German guys we'd just met in a hostel. It's important at this juncture that we all understand that these German guys were really hot. To this nightclub, this chic beachfront nightclub in Chile, with two hot German guys, Rachel inexplicably elected to wear blue woolen hiking socks and bright pink ballet pumps. And I still went with her. I can incontrovertibly guarantee you that there is no other human on this earth I would do that for. Rach, I feel so deeply blessed to know that I have you in my life, and I don't ever want to take that for granted. Will you marry me? But seriously, Rach, I do love you so much, and Chris, you're fine. I love you too, but not as much as Rachel. I really do feel incredibly privileged, though, that I've been able to witness your relationship develop from the very beginning. Back in February 2007, when we still had a Labour government, imagine. And don't make it political, Emily. And Lebanese-British singer-songwriter Mika was at the top of the charts with his incredibly irritating Europop hit, Grace Kelly. A young Chris and Rach went on their very first date to the cinema in Bishop Stortford and saw The Number 23. They purchased a medium salted popcorn and a bag of Rebels. They sat in seats D12 and D13. I'm joking, of course, I wasn't there, or was I? But since that auspicious trip to the cinema, I've watched as your relationship has been fortified through incredible new experiences and trying challenges. I've seen you navigate so much that many couples would find impossible, most notably moving halfway across the world together, and probably even more notably having to live half a world apart. When I look at you two together and the small vignettes of your relationship I'm privy to, I see two people who are completely, authentically, wholeheartedly themselves in each other's company, who have known and grown with each other through countless changes. I see really the only things that a relationship needs to thrive: understanding, trust, and acceptance, and love. Obviously love. There's a line in a song that's been in my head a lot today that Rachel absolutely won't know. The line is, getting married isn't the biggest day of your life. All the days you get to have are big. And I know that you two will fill those days with fun and love and absolutely unintelligible in-jokes. To Rachel and Chris.